We're going to be talking about opacity masks. So I have placed the image called Da Vinci, and now I'm going to use my ellipse to create a circle here in the middle of the Da Vinci image. I am applying a radial gradient. Now I'm going to select both of these, and we also need to have our transparency panel open. Now you can access this temporarily from the properties panel, but for what we're doing right now, it's going to be easier if you just keep this out, have it open. So with both of these items selected, I'm going to click Make Mask. And now we have a couple of options here. Remember when we did Photoshop, we said black conceals, white reveals. Well, it's the same thing here, but we have these options. So we could actually invert. So if I invert and uncheck clip, I have a whole different situation. So these things are a lot of fun to play around with. I'm going to put a color behind it so that you can see what's actually going on here. I'll just put some like orange and send this to the back. So what's going on is we've actually got a window now, a hole that was created by this gradient. I'm going to duplicate the Da Vinci layer and turn one of them off. I just want to have one as a backup here. And I think I'm going to get rid of the orange background. Now I want you to import another image or place an image, and that'll be the stock image, iStock of this guy. Back out here so I can have some place to work on him. In the properties panel, I want you to do an image trace, choose shades of gray, expand, and then with the direct select arrow, deselect and then reselect to eliminate portions of the background. We don't have to do the whole thing. I'm just going to do this around his upper, like his shoulders and his head. Now I want to put this guy inside my opacity mask. A couple of ways we could do that. I'm just going to take my regular selection tool, select the whole thing, cut it, Command X. Now go over here, select this image, and then select the mask. And I want you to pay attention what happens to the layers panel when I select the mask. So we're now inside the mask, and the layers panel changes to show us what's going on in the mask. Now that I'm in the mask, I can paste that guy, and he's now inside the mask, and it creates a very interesting effect, I think. We can also work directly in the mask. So I'm going to place another image, and this time I'm going to choose ray gun, put it in here, and I can move this around, and I just like this interesting texture that we can get. Now in the layers panel, I can rearrange the stacking order, so I can bring the guy forward and have the text in the background. Let's say I wanted this text to stand out a little more. I could create a rectangle right here. I'll just make that white, and I'll put it below the text so I get something like that. Maybe I don't want it full on white, so I could select it and lower its opacity. Okay, so I'm going to go back out. I'm going to leave the mask and go back out into normal editing mode by clicking on this little icon of the image. And I want to do another little demonstration here. I want to take the ellipse tool again, make it approximately the same size as before. This time I'm going to stroke it, but not fill it. And I'll make it a stroke that kind of goes with the look I've got going, but not full white, but fairly light. And let me crank it up so we can see it. something like this. And now I'm going to make a rectangle on top of it. And fill it with a gradient. And this time I'll just do a linear gradient. Then I'll select the gradient and the ellipse, so I can do that right over here in my layers panel, and then make a mask. So where this goes into the black, it fades out. And with it selected, I can go into the mask and I can modify the gradient to get a different result. I can use the gradient tool, change directions on it. You can see how that updates. So kind of like it going like, looks like it's going behind his head, maybe coming out. So it's a lot of fun to play with. And you can get some very interesting composites that are actually easier to achieve. This look, I think, is easier to achieve in Illustrator than it is in Photoshop.